All right, Morgan, as we just mentioned, I'm here at AMD's Advancing AI event in San Jose, California, where AMD just unveiled a slate of new AI hardware, software, and systems designed to compete with NVIDIA and others. Shares are flat for the year, underperforming its major peers, but have rallied 17% in the past 3 months. Here in San Jose, an exclusive interview is Lisa Su, AMD's CEO and chair. Thanks for having me here.
Thanks for being here, John.
So talk to me about these systems. You got a chip sitting there next to you that's, I guess, fresh out of the oven. What is it that you're announcing here? What level of competition does that raise you to with the others out there?
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, it's been a big day for AMD, really exciting. I love talking about our new products, you know that. So we just recently announced our MI355 chip. This is our newest AI chip, and it is fantastic. It's the best inference accelerator out there in the market. And you know, if you look at what's happening in AI today, we're just seeing so many more use cases, John. Like, people are using AI everywhere, and so one of the most important things for our customers is to get more efficiency from their chips. So when you think about tokens per dollar, that's kind of the metric that is used. And this chip will give you 40% more tokens per dollar, which just gives you the opportunity to offer AI at a much more affordable price across the world. So yes, very exciting. We also previewed our 2026 lineup. We're on an annual cadence now of new accelerators, and we're not just doing chips, but we're doing big rack scale systems. And so all of that was part of our announcements today.
And investors are puzzling over how the innovations will translate into share gains versus the likes of NVIDIA. So why is it beyond chips now, and why is it about racks? That was a big part of the ZT Systems acquisition. Put that into perspective with the go-to-market and the design component to satisfy the customer need.
Yeah, absolutely. So, look, we're really excited about the momentum that we're seeing in the AI market these days. If you look today, 7 out of the top 10, model builders and AI companies are using AMD products. That includes Meta, Oracle, OpenAI. Sam Altman was here with us today. Meta and Oracle were here. XAI, Tesla, to name a few. And when you think about what they need, what they really want is the latest generation hardware that gets into the data center and then gets into serving production workloads as fast as possible. And so to do that, you require, of course we require chips, but we're also putting a significant amount of investment into the software layer to make it just super easy to use. And we're also building rack scale solutions. So we just completed our ZT acquisition. We've added 1,000 design engineers, and the whole purpose is so that we can help our customers get to the market with our AI solutions as fast as physically possible.
You've got competition with NVIDIA at the high end, certainly. And then the hyperscalers, the big cloud providers who are also now big AI providers, AWS, Azure, Google. They've got their homegrown AI chips that they're trying to use as much as possible to keep their costs lower, their margins higher. How do you play to both ends of that and win? How does openness fit into your strategy?
Yeah, well, John, when you think about it, I view we're still in the very early innings of AI. And frankly, as much as we've seen a ramp up in AI, we have sort of said that the market is going to grow over 60% annually for the next number of years to over $500 billion in 2028. That's a huge market. And, in that market, what people want is the most flexible and the most programmable architectures out there. And that's really what we're building. And the key point in this is, again, we believe in deep co-development with our partners. So hardware, software, systems coming together, making sure that we have the right compute for the right application. And that's what we've shown. If you look at just how much improvement, I can just give you some stats, right? If you look at the solution that we're just talking about, the MI355, it's
hold it up high.
Oh, hold it up high. Yes, I want to make sure everyone gets to see my new baby here. We're very happy that it is now out in production, but this is like 3 times the performance of just what you saw last year. So that's just how much value you're getting. And we previewed our next generation, our MI400 series, and there we're going to see like 10x, types of improvements. So that's how much we can get from the hardware and working closely with our partners. And you asked about open. Open is the foundation of what we do at AMD. I'm a real believer in the fact that an open ecosystem is how you get the best innovation into the market. So we have thousands of developers here today. They're playing with our hardware, they're learning our software, and we want all of them developing on our stuff so that we get the benefit of all of that innovation, and they get the benefit of bringing their best ideas in.
Sometimes closed is faster, comes to market faster, and can be more profitable. If you look at Apple's approach, is AI going to be different?
Well, think about it this way. I think if you look at history, you have examples of closed and open. Look at sort of data center systems, right? You had Unix being the operating system of choice to start with, but Linux actually has taken over because it's open, and people weren't quite sure. And look, Apple's a great ecosystem, iOS is a great ecosystem, but there are limitations to what developers can do there. And you see, on the other hand, Android is an open ecosystem, and that allows sort of an alternative there. So, look, I think you're going to see both, but I believe in the end, open is going to win because there's so many smart people out there, and there's so many great ideas. People want to be able to have control of their own destiny, and that's what an open ecosystem is all about.
Speaking of which, how did DeepSeek change the conversation a few months ago, and maybe even what customers are demanding, the level of experimentation that developers are doing?
Yeah, it's a great point. I think I'll talk a little bit about DeepSeek, but maybe overarching, probably the largest trend we're seeing in AI is that the workloads are changing so fast. Like, people are innovating every week. You see new models coming out from folks like OpenAI and Google. DeepSeek was kind of a very interesting injection into the AI market because frankly, it was an open model, and it did things somewhat differently because there were some limitations in the compute that they have. And whether you're using the model or not, you've learned things from its openness, and people have adopted some of those techniques into their proprietary models. So, my main point is we can all learn from each other, and the faster we learn, the faster we iterate, the better the answer is going to be. And I think that's the lesson of an open ecosystem.
M&A, I think you've done around 9 acquisitions in the past 3 years, 3 last month. What does that say about the velocity that you're trying to achieve and why you're reaching outside AMD for it?
Well, look, AMD is a growth company. That's our mantra, and we are very fortunate in the sense that we have access to huge markets. We have a fantastic balance sheet, and we're going to use that balance sheet because I really believe that this is the best time for AI investments to really pay off. Being still very early in the cycle, we want to make sure that we have all the pieces for us to go faster. Frankly, that's what our customers want is, how do we innovate faster? So we've made a number of acquisitions. Most recently, we closed our ZT acquisition, which brought in rack scale systems. We've done a number of software acquisitions that have helped really broaden our software capability. Just last week, we announced a couple with, Bream and Lemon joining us, but from Nod.ai, Silo AI, all of these companies have been great additions to our overall AI capabilities. But John, we're also doing a number of strategic investments. The fact is, big companies have tremendous capability, but some of these AI native companies are extremely, extremely capable, and they have great ideas, and so we want to learn from them as well. And that's why we're doing a bunch of strategic investments.
How, if at all, are these geopolitical tensions affecting demand?
Well, there's no question that we have to be very mindful of the geopolitical situation. We are at a place where AI technology is so important from a national security standpoint, and we get that. So we do spend a lot of time with the administration to make sure that we are fully understanding the framework in terms of what we can do. But the fact of the matter is AI demand is very strong. And the thing that we're seeing that's actually pretty interesting is people used to buy AI chips mainly for training and pre-training these large foundational models. That's what the largest builders do. Training continues to be important, but we're actually seeing a significant uptick in inference applications. And that just says that there are more people using inference. And from our standpoint, when you think about things like, you hear about people talking about agents and agentic AI, that requires not just GPUs, but it also requires CPUs and traditional compute. So we're seeing the benefits of that in our overall market.
And the difference between training and inference is like the difference between practice and actually playing the game.
That's right.
It's one thing to have a plan, and you have to develop that using AI, but then when it's time to actually give answers, do business, that's where inference plays.
Every time you ask a question, every time you ask ChatGPT or Grok a question, that's an inference query, and the longer the question you ask, the harder the question you ask, the more compute you need, and that's what we do. We provide the compute to do that.
How quickly can we stand up more and better chip production in the U.S.?
For sure. Look, it's a huge priority for us to get geographic diversity. It's a big priority to get more manufacturing in the U.S. I think we've seen some big strides. So the progress that's been made on the silicon side, for example, in Arizona with TSMC's new investments as well as some of their announcements. We have some of our chips running there right now, and they look really, really good. We're continuing to work across the board in getting more manufacturing in the United States, and it's just good business to have good diversity.
All right. Lisa Su, CEO of AMD. Thanks for having me here.
Thanks for being here, John.
Well, meantime, John, Adobe earnings are out. Pippa Stevens has the numbers for us.